What are some tools of transformation that we can use to transform our lives? Welcome today. That's what we're going to talk about on the Wildflower Woo Woo shows. Today we're actually doing episode 30, 31, and 32 because we missed a couple weeks because we were on our crystal digging adventure. Welcome, I'm Michelle Wildflower. I am the host and facilitator for Women's Empowerment and Spiritual Awakening Retreats. I'm also the former bookstore owner of Books and Beyond, which was a new age bookstore in Lyndonville, Vermont that I had years ago. We used to host psychic fairs there, and we had astrology charts read there and tarot readers, and it was a really fun shop. And so I'm also a tarot reader myself, and I've been studying the metaphysical realm and everything metaphysical for over the last 30 years, including divination, meditation, breath work, spirit guides, spirit communication. I mean, you name it. If it was metaphysical, then it captured my interest. And today what we're going to be talking about is specific tools of transformation in our 3 episodes in one. And there are many tools of transformation that are available to people that have been used throughout time. I mean, we could talk about it all day long, right? So we're just going to limit it to 3 that we talk about today. The episode 30, we're going to talk about the tarot. Episode 31, we're going to talk about runes. And episode 32, we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of pendulums. How does that sound? Awesome. So first we'll begin with the tarot. Tarot, people say it different ways, but it's basically a deck that you can use as a tool of transformation. Let's just say that you're going through a challenge, or you're at a crossroads, or you have a difficult choice to make or something like that. The tarot or any of these divination methods actually can give you some insight on which way to turn and which choices that you could make that might be the most beneficial for the outcome that you are trying to achieve. It can offer insight into the divine feminine archetypes. There's the major arcana and the minor arcana, and these are the 2 main divisions of the tarot deck, which is used for divination, spiritual guidance, and self-reflection. It can offer insights, like I was saying, into the divine feminine archetype, which embodies qualities such as intuition, nurturing, compassion, creativity, and wisdom. Various cards in the deck can be associated with aspects of the divine feminine, both with the major and minor arcana. And I like to use the Mother Piece deck. So sadly, I don't have any of my divination tools that I usually use because, like I said, we just got back from our crystal digging adventure, and my spiritual toolbox that I have is down in our camper. As you can see, we live on a mountaintop, and we couldn't actually get the camper up here when we got back because it was a snowstorm. So our camper is down at our other house at the bottom of the hill, which has my spiritual toolbox in it. So I apologize that I don't have my beautiful round Mother Piece tarot deck to show you today, but you can look it up online. It's a round deck. And the reason that I like to use the Mother Piece deck is because it has the round cards. So in that way, nothing is either reversed or not. You know, nothing's either black or white, good or bad, right or wrong. It's always kind of like an influence, you know? So if the card is all the way to the right, then that means that it's a very strong influence and that you're very aware of it. If the card is a little bit to the left and it hasn't quite gone upright, then that means that it's an influence that you might not be aware of right now. So that's why I really enjoy the Mother Piece deck, because of the ability to assess situations in a more introspective way, instead of just being like, okay, this is reversed, so that means that the feeling of this card is opposite of what it usually is. You know what I mean? So depending on how the cards fall, depends on the energy and the influence, and whether it's something that you're aware of or not, maybe a little or more, like we said. And the minor arcana consists of 56 cards divided into 4 suits. There's cups, pentacles, or coins, depending on your deck, swords, and wands. And each suit contains 14 cards numbered from ace to 10, followed by court cards, just like a regular deck, where you have your page, your knight, your queen, and king. And the minor arcana cards often focus on kind of like mundane daily life things that you're going through, practical aspects of life, such as relationships, work, emotions, and challenges. And in a tarot reading, both the major arcana and minor arcana cards are used to provide insights, guidance, and perspectives on various aspects of life and the querent's situation. The major arcana cards usually indicate major life influences that are significant, or significant influences or turning points in your life, kind of like things that are fate related or divinely inspired, usually things that are kind of out of your control, like destiny related. And like I said, the minor arcana is offering more specific details and actions to consider. So the major arcana consists of 22 cards numbered 0 to 21. And these cards represent, like I said, significant life themes and archetypes and spiritual lessons. So each card typically depicts a powerful image with symbolic meanings, such as like the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Emperor, the Lovers, the Tower, the World. And they kind of signify our journey through life, beginning with the Fool, who isn't really a fool. They say fool, but it doesn't really mean fool. It just means someone who's childlike, someone who kind of doesn't have all those limitations imposed on them by society that many of us do. You know, when we're children, we'll think of all the things we want to do when we're big, and then slowly the different adults that you talk to will be like, oh, you can't do that, you don't live there, or you can't do that, you're not this, or you can't do that because of this, and just starts imposing limitations on your little spirit of what's possible and what your potential is. So when you get the Fool card, that's kind of like you're in a position of, you're at the beginning of your journey where everything's just beginning and there's no end to the potential that exists there. So when you hear Fool, don't think that it really means foolish. It doesn't mean foolish. And there's different ways that you can use the tarot, either by drawing a card a day, just to kind of, you know, get a little insight into what the day is going to be like at the beginning of the day, or you could do it at the end of the day to just kind of wrap up or see if there was any insight that was needed at the end of the day for you to consider. You could also do a 3-card reading, which would be like past, present, and future. Or you could do a whole spread. You can ask a specific question, or you could just do a general reading. What I used to like to do, I mean, I still do it, when I give someone a reading, is I like to ask them to, you know, shuffle the cards and then not tell me if they have a question or not. To just think of their question in their mind, if they have a question, or if they just want a general reading, whichever one, and I'll give them the reading. And if at the end of the reading we haven't answered their question, then I'll ask them if they did have a specific question. We can try to look into the cards further to see if we can find the answer if it hasn't already come up in the reading. And if they just wanted a general reading, just to see if they have any other questions that I could answer so that they can understand fully the reading, because there's so many different aspects of what came before, and if the energy keeps going in this direction, what you can expect to happen in the future, where things are coming from, what's in your subconscious mind, what you're aware of in your conscious mind, your hopes and fears, how you see yourself, who's in your house. There's just so many different aspects to a reading. And another thing that I like about the Mother Peace deck is that So when you get to the final outcome, if it's a major arcana card, then that's your final outcome. If it's not a major arcana card, then you continue to turn over 2 more cards and see if either one of them is major arcana. And if not, then you know that the outcome is unknown at this time. So I really like that about the Mother Peace deck. And you may choose, one way in one moment and another way in the next moment based on, your intuition or how you feel in the moment. But the most important part is to follow your intuition always and to listen to yourself. It doesn't matter what someone else's interpretation is of a card or position, if for some reason you're getting something different and it's your reading, then I would definitely always trust your own intuition, because spirit, your guides, the universe, whatever you want to call it that you resonate with, is using the cards to speak to you and give you signs and images and insight and knowledge and information that you need. So if you feel like, oh, I feel like this card means this, and someone's like, no, so actually that card means this, it's like, I don't know, I think for myself, my intuition serves me well, and I bet yours does too, right? Okay, so there's so many different decks to choose from nowadays. One thing to remember is always to keep your cards in a silk. So I always wrap mine in silk, and in our spiritual toolboxes that we sell, they always have a deck of tarot cards in there, and we always give a silk as well to wrap them in. Wrapping them actually helps to kind of protect them from outer influences and just to keep them free from any interference or anything like that. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on? So that was episode 30 about tarot cards, and we learned the different ways that you can use them, what the major and minor arcana are, the different aspects of life that they represent, and some of the various card spreads that we could use in a reading. And now we're going to start episode 31. Welcome. And we're going to talk about runes and the ways that we can use them. And unfortunately, I have these, fortunately, I have these really beautiful runes that are made of dumortierite, which is a very beautiful blue stone. But again, they are in my spiritual toolbox, which is down the road in the camper. So I apologize about that. I'll post a picture of them or something like that so you can see them. They're very beautiful, and they come in a nice bag. So you can find some different sets of runes. These are letters in a set of related alphabets known as runic alphabets, which were used to write various Germanic languages before the adoption of the Latin alphabet. The runic alphabets were used predominantly by Germanic peoples of Northern Europe, including the Vikings, Anglo-Saxons, the Norse, Germanic, and Scandinavian groups. The earliest runic inscriptions date back to around the 2nd century AD, and they continue to be used until the Middle Ages, though their usage did decline with the spread of Christianity and the adoption of the Latin alphabet, which, let's face it, a lot of things declined at that time that were very valuable, right? Runes were typically carved into stone, wood, or metal, and were used for writing inscriptions, magic, divination, and communication. The runic alphabets vary in their forms of number of characters, but most consist of about 24 to 31 letters known as runes. The most well-known runic alphabet is the Elder Futhark, which consists of 24 characters and was used by Germanic tribes during the migration period. Other runic alphabets include the Younger Futhark, Anglo-Saxon Futhark, and medieval runes, among others. And in addition to their use in writing, runes also held symbolic and mystical significance in Germanic cultures. They were often associated with magical practices, divination, and religious rituals. Today, runes are sometimes used in modern forms of divination and esoteric practices, such as runic divination or runic magic. How many of you have used runes before? Type a R in the comments if you've used runes before. They feel, I mean, I'm sure that they all feel different, but the ones that I have, they just feel kind of, I don't know, just like really magical when you feel them. It's just like have this energy to them. And they can be used in various ways, both historically and in modern practices. Some common ways that you could use them would include divination, like we talked about. And this is one of the most common uses. Practitioners draw a set of runes from a bag and interpret their meanings based on the position and the symbols themselves. Each rune carries its own symbolic significance, and the combination of runes drawn can provide insights into a situation, answer questions, and offer guidance. Or you could use them for meditation and reflection. Some people use runes as a tool for meditation. They may select a single rune to focus on and contemplate its meaning, how it applies to their life, or what message it might have for them. So that would be kind of similar to drawing the tarot card every day, just to see if there's a message or some kind of insight. I mean, it's kind of fun to draw a tarot card and a rune every day, right? And some other ways that you could use them are magical practices. In certain magical traditions, runes used in spell work or ritual practices could involve inscribing runes on objects or using them in protective ceremonies or charms, or incorporating them into a ritual, something like that. You could make a talisman creation. They could be engraved or inscribed onto objects such as jewelry, amulets, talismans for protection, luck, or other magical purposes. That might be a fun thing to do with children one day, and pick a rune and then inscribe it on, go outside and find, you know, like a fallen tree branch or something like that. And that, I mean, that would be a really hands-on way to teach your children all about runes and their meanings, right? Like you could do one a week or something like that. So when using runes for divination or other purposes, it's important to establish a personal connection with the symbols and to respect their historical and cultural significance. Additionally, interpretation of runes can vary between individuals and traditions. It's just like I said with the tarot cards, where if someone has a certain interpretation of a card and you feel like that's not what it means too, always follow your intuition, because your intuition is right for you. So it's helpful to study their meaning and to develop a practice that feels authentic and meaningful to you by studying them and their meanings, and which ones associate what to you, because, you know, everyone, you know, anything could mean one thing to one person and significantly something else to the next. So it's something worth studying. Or you could always not study it at all and just pick runes and then just sit there, focus on the image and hold it and see what comes to you, and just write it down, get a journal and go through all the runes that way and see what they mean to you, and then get a book of runes and divination meaning and compare it to what your interpretation was and see how spot on your interpretation was with the typical meanings that people associate with them. That might be fun, right? Okay, so does anyone have any questions about runes? All right, so we're going to get started on episode 32. And thank you so much for your patience and bearing with me. And usually we wouldn't, you know, have 3 episodes in one, but it was a very fun crystal digging trip that we went on. We have lots of amazing crystals that I want to post pictures of. I just haven't gotten to yet because there's so many. It's taken a long time to clean them and kind of sort them. So I'm going to post some more pictures, though. I'm not going to make you guys wait because they're just so cool. And, you know, each crystal, not only every crystal has its own way to amplify intention or connect you to yourself or your guides or help with spirit communication, or the many different ways that crystals can help us, but Also, the different shapes that they are has a lot to do with their qualities. And I was just reading it to my husband, and we were finding, which ones were generators, which ones are transmitters, which ones are life paths, which ones are timelines. It's just so interesting to see all the different kinds of shapes and sizes and sides and facets, and truly fascinating. And we are having a crystal digging retreat April 18th to the 22nd. So that's something, if you love crystals, we'd love to have you join us. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, so we're going to start episode 32 now and begin our pendulum episode. I'm just going to get a drink real quick because I'm a little thirsty. And I've been talking a lot. So, okay, a pendulum is a simple device consisting of a weight suspended from a string or a pivot so that it can swing freely. It doesn't have to be a string, it could be a chain, rope, whatever. And the weight, often a small object like a metal or crystal, is typically attached, like we said, to a chain or a string. And they're used in various contexts, including physics experiments, timekeeping, as in pendulum clocks, and divination practices, which is what we're talking about today. In the context of divination and spiritual practices, pendulums are often used as tools for receiving guidance, insights, or answers to questions, kind of similar to the runes and the tarot. The practice is known as pendulum dowsing or pendulum divination. So the preparation for this, the user typically holds the pendulum by the string or chain, allowing the weight to hang freely. And before you do that, you'll want to set your intention. And so you'll set your intention, you'll establish your yes or no. It's different for everyone. Ask your specific question. And these specific questions may relate to personal matters, decision making, or seeking guidance on a particular issue that you might use a pendulum for. And there's a series of questions that are asked before you proceed with the next one. And you must receive a yes before you continue. And the movement and interpretation, once the intention or questions are clear, the pendulum is allowed to swing or move in response. And the movement can be in various directions. It could go back and forth. It could go front and back, side to side, circular motions. It's very individual, and the user interprets the direction or pattern of movement as a response to their questions. I'm sure you've seen people do that before. So the interpretation of the pendulum's movements can vary depending on the individual and the system being used. Some practitioners may assign specific meanings to different directions of movement, while others may rely on their intuition to interpret the responses. After receiving the guidance or answers sought, the user may thank the pendulum and conclude the session. It's often used as a tool for personal guidance, decision-making, and self-discovery. And while the mechanisms behind how a pendulum works in this context is not fully understood, many practitioners believe that the movements are influenced by subtle energy, the unconscious mind, or spiritual forces. Which one do you think it is? You can type it in the comments, even if you're watching the replay. I'm interested to see which one you think it is. It's important for individuals using pendulums for divination to approach the practice with an open mind and to use a tool for personal exploration rather than relying solely on it for making major life decisions. So you would just use it for guidance, not as word, like you should definitely do this. And you always need to consider, other aspects that might not be being considered in the dowsing session that you're doing, And in our Awakening the Divine Feminine Spiritual Summit on March 30th, that's this weekend coming up, we'll go over more of the logistics of divination in our divination workshop that kicks off the fun for this event. Have you heard about that? It's in the workshop, we'll explore how to establish your yes or no question, your yes or no swing and what questions you should always ask before you begin, and what else to have in place before any divination ceremony. We're also going to talk about, okay, sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Having a little technical difficulty here. Try that. Okay, we're also going to have a chakra cleansing there, and I'll be interviewing various metaphysical educators in the metaphysical realm, some who have attended our retreats in the past, and some who will be at future retreats, or some I hope will be at future retreats. So the event is from 1 to 4 p.m. You can sign up for it on our Facebook page or at naturesmysteries.com. And it's totally free. It costs nothing. And like I said, it's called Awakening the Divine Feminine Spiritual Summit. It's from 1 to 5, and I will be interviewing folks who can help you to awaken that divine feminine within. And these are educators that I've worked with before that have facilitated workshops at our retreats, or like I said, ones that I will be coming in the future, or ones that I hope to work with in the future. One specifically that I wanted to mention is Theta Phoenix. She's an intuitive singer, and she always kind of, what she sings is from the moment. She kind of channels it, and she will be singing at 4:15 on the summit. We'll also have some astrology insight, gemstone therapy insight, and some other soul guidance. So if that sounds good to you, we'd love to have you join us. That's March 30th, this Saturday from 1 to 5. Like I said, there will also be a divination workshop I'll be teaching. We'll go into what we talked about today a little deeper, and chakra cleansing. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we've been working on something very big for the last few months, and I will be launching it at the end of this event. So I'm very excited to share this with you, and I hope to see everyone there on March 30th from 1 to 5. You can sign up at naturesmysteries.com, or if you're already on the Facebook page, you can just go on to our cover photo, and that will connect you to the tickets. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to open the door to your spirituality. Take care.